Hey everybody, it is May 3rd, 2009. I am Sonic Suns. I'm here to talk to you about a computer science concept called universal shadelisting, which I believe is an entirely unique phrase because I just sort of made it up. Either that or I'm accidentally copying it from somebody else. I don't know. Okay, it works like this. There is cyberspace, and not even just say just the internet, but also things you might manually install on your computer. And some of this stuff is very bad for you. Viruses, Trojans, worms, malware is the more general term we're using recently. Just stuff that does bad stuff, right? So what we came up with a while ago was this concept of blacklisting. That we'll just keep a list of all the bad stuff there is, all the viruses and whatnot, and we'll make sure that doesn't do its evil deed or whatever. That's the initial concept of antivirus stuff, is that it would scan the hard drive, look through every little file you have and see, okay, is that on the blacklist? Is that on the blacklist? Is that on the blacklist? Is that? And then if it finds anything that's on the blacklist, it says, hey, virus found, would you like me to delete it, right? And later on we came with a couple more, sophisticated things of doing stuff. For instance, every time you install or download a new file, perhaps it gets an automatic virus scan. Perhaps every time I run a file, it gets some sort of a scan. There's stuff called heuristics, where basically if something's not on the blacklist explicitly, you can theoretically look at the file and try and figure out what it would do if you turned it on and be like, wait a minute, it's not on my blacklist per se, but heuristic says it would do something fishy. It's going to delete some vital folder, and I don't think any legitimate program would do that sort of a thing. And then there's essentially that there's in Windows Vista, the user account control thing we came up with. Basically, when you do anything important, it'll ask the user specifically. This little box will pop up, and you have to click or type in your password or something. Essentially, the computer's asking you, hey, is this thing on your own personal, blacklist in your own skull? Is this okay with you? Is this okay? That's blacklisting. And we developed systems of distributing it around. Obviously, there's tremendous amounts of research being done by the major antivirus people, etc., or anti-malware people. And they have lists that are posted online that are updated every couple of minutes or something. And this is disseminated. This goes out through Google, for instance, gets reports. Okay, such and such websites are probably have bad stuff on them. So if that comes up in a search result, it'll post a little thing that says, hey, are you sure you want to click here? Because I think it might be full of crap. I.e., you could destroy your computer. Now, the trouble is, there is a lot of bad stuff out on cyberspace. A whole lot of just viruses and variations thereof, and the viruses, of course, try to mutate themselves and make themselves harder to detect and so forth. And it gets kind of harder and harder to list each and every bad thing. Just because you can list a bajillion old things, but they'll just invent something new, they'll put it up there, and then you gotta find that really quickly, before anyone gets to it. So people are talking about this other concept called whitelisting. And you might expect, whitelisting is a list of specific things that are known to be good. And the notion with that is it potentially could be a lot more secure if you have a list of just legitimate programs. And then you have it set to your computer that only files from those programs can be allowed to exist, or only those things can be allowed to run or to be downloaded or something, unless perhaps the user grants a special permission. This is used in some contexts, particularly if you don't require a wide breadth of things to be installed, like in a corporate environment, and there's only 20 programs that are that are allowed according to the corporate rules. They might have a whitelist system that says, built into all the computers, say, okay, only these 20 programs can run, or etc., etc. And that's very interesting. You come up, there's some hurdles in trying to figure out a way of listing all the legit programs. Though there is the benefit that people making legit programs would, theoretically cooperate with each other to get themselves listed. You upload your program to, I don't know, somebody, some authority. They say, hey, please whitelist me, and then they would have it and they would run it, and they'd say, okay, this is cool. As opposed to the people that make malware, viruses and so forth, they're not sending that to, AVG or any of the antivirus people, saying, hey, Symantec, would you like to check and see if this is a virus? No, frick that. The antivirus people have to go out and find this stuff on their own, which is a little more effort, you see. So whitelisting has a benefit, has an advantage. But I got to thinking about this, and I thought, you could put this all sort of in one system. There's another thing, by the way, in the middle is gray listing. Well, blacklisting, whitelisting. Gray listing is any sort of thing that's put something in a gray zone. We don't know if it's white or black, good or bad. And gray listing has a couple of different meanings depending on context. Some of it's used for if you're forwarding spam and so forth, but never mind. You have the notion of this. And I thought, okay. What if we have one concept? We'll call it shade listing. And that's, from white to black. What do you say we rank it on a scale of, 0 through 100, where 0 is total blacklist, evil, this is a virus, don't touch it, and 100 is total whitelist, everyone uses it, like, Firefox or something. It's very well known, it's not a virus, it's cool. Sort of a thing. Okay, and then you could have some authority figure, maintains this list. And I thought, okay, but what if you have universal shade listing? How would this work? Well, basically it would be like any entity on the internet can maintain its list of basically any other entity on the internet, or not necessarily an internet, it could but we're going to say internet because that's so very popular. You could technically do this without an internet. Basically anyone can list, they have their own independent shade listing sort of thing, and report that to basically anyone else. Well, how does that work? Well, it would be like, let's say I'm running my computer and I get some new file and I'm going to run it, and it goes through some program and says, okay, how is this, on the shade list? Where does this rank? Well, again, you could, just ping some particular authority, says, have you heard of this? But A, that authority might not, have heard of it yet, either good or bad, so I guess give it a default rank of like 50 or something if we're going on the 1 through 100 or 0 through 100 sort of a thing. I don't know. So A, they may not have heard of it, may not give you a lot of information. And B, maybe, putting everything on one authority figure is not necessarily the best thing to do. This is the internet. We like to distribute things as much as possible. Like the whole community aspect deal, it's more robust that way. If one person screws up, theoretically, the rest of it can work. That's how the internet itself works, by the way. When you connect to a server, it's like, okay, can you, it'll zap to like whatever, intermediate router or some such. Say, hey, can you send me in the right direction? Oh, no, you can't, or you're not responding, or you don't exist. Okay, well, how about this other guy? How about this? Ding, 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 and just bouncing off this random chaotic path that somehow gets to where it's going. Except now the information we're getting here is not a website or something, it's information about a program. Say, hey, I have this program, I have this file, I have this something, is this, how does this rank on the shade listing? Is this good, is this bad, is this whatever? And by the way, how are we going to report a program that thing? Well, there's a thing called hashing. Hashing is basically identifying a program using less data than is in the program. Maybe like if you took a book, right? Say you have a book, it's got, a lot of pages and a lot of words in it. A hash of that book would be like if you took every third word from every fifth page and you wrote those all down. Okay, that overall you'd have much, fewer words than you started off with. But what you have here is a fairly unique, piece of data that goes to the original book. How many other books could there be that have exactly the same thing where every third word and every fifth page happens to match up, right? And in this way, you can have like a big old, program that's like, a gigabyte or something, and then you can compress it, not really compress the program, but you can make this hash, which is much less than that, and therefore you send someone a hash and say, hey, I have a hash of this program, is it cool? And they can find out for you, without having to transmit the entire program, you see.